Hi, I'm Daniel from ligo.co.uk and this is the Roberts Revival Rest. Roberts are one of the best known British audio brands out there with almost a century of history behind them now, and they're best known for their classic Revival range, of which the Revival Rest, as the name suggests, is part. However, this is a bit different from the rest in that it's a clock radio. Is it any good? Let's take a closer look. Let's start off with a little bit about the design of the Revival Rest. Now, the design of Roberts radios is really why they've stood the test of time. They're very desirable pieces of kit, built to a very high quality. Roberts have made a number of different alarm clock radios in the past, including the Zen Plus, which is still a current model I've reviewed previously. However, all of those have tended to be their own thing, whereas the Revival Rest is the first time Roberts have taken the design that they're probably best known for and applied it to a clock radio. Even if you didn't know that it was called the Revival Rest, you'd probably be able to tell at a glance that this was a Roberts product, as it bears all the hallmarks of their classic style. The Revival Rest comes in two different colours, which I've got here. There's the black, or the duck egg, if you prefer something a bit more colourful. There's not as many colours available as there are of the rest of the Revival range, but still, it's nice to have that little bit of colour as an option, if you like, as opposed to the standard black or white that you tend to get across most clock radios. The main Revival series is notable for its big speaker grille on the front. Obviously that's not that practical if you're designing a clock radio, since you can't tell the time at a glance if the screen is on the top, as it normally is. So what Roberts have rather cleverly done is adapted the front so that the panel where the speaker grille would normally go is instead the screen. Time on that is nice and big, so even if you wear glasses and you got them off to sleep, you should still be able to tell the time. And you have a few different options for the screen brightness, which is controlled with this button on the top here. You can either have it set to stay on high, medium or low, auto, so it will brighten or darken depending on the brightness of the room, or completely off if you'd rather not be bothered by it but still have the alarm on. All the controls are on this top panel here. You've got two dials, one for the volume and one for selecting the station. I always like having dials for both instead of buttons for one, as it means you can quickly turn the volume up or down or flick through all the stations rather than repeatedly pressing a button. As always with Roberts, the dials have a nice satisfying click to them, which you should be able to hear as I turn it. Just a small touch, but it's things like that that really make these very nice products indeed. As is often the case with clock radios, you've got two buttons for setting separate alarms as well, so you could have one earlier one for weekdays and a later one for weekends, or if you're using the buzzer setting, you could have a second one as a backup in case you snooze through the first one. All in all, the build quality of the Revival Rest is really high, so even though the price point is quite high for a clock radio, the ends more than justify that. It's very solidly built indeed. As I said, Roberts radios are really desirable because of the design, but given that this retails at £130 at the time of recording, you'd naturally expect it to sound very good for that sort of price as well. And true to form, Roberts have made another great sounding radio in the Revival Rest. I've found in the past some clock radios can sacrifice a little bit on sound quality in order to get a compact enough footprint to fit comfortably on a bedside table, but that's not really an issue for Roberts because they already made a very good sounding radio of this shape in the Revival Petite, which I've got here, rated very highly. This is actually my own one that I brought from home. If anything, the Revival Rest actually sounds a little bit better than the Petite, as it's a little bit bigger, so a little bit more room in there for all the audio components. On the rest of the Revival series, you'd have a speaker on the front, but obviously that's not possible with the Revival Rest since the front is taken up by the screen. So instead, you've got the main speaker projecting out the back and then an additional little one on the top as well. In practice, I found that didn't compromise on the sound quality at all. It sounds just as good as the rest of Roberts radios, and in fact, with the Petite, you've got the same principle of the main speaker being the one on the back, and the front one is an additional tweeter. So it doesn't sound any less good than the rest of Roberts radios. As for features, the Revival Rest comes with both DAB and FM modes, so you get a really good choice of stations. Like most clock radios, it doesn't have a proper antenna. Instead, it's got a built-in wire one. Although I have to say, during testing, I found that didn't matter at all, really. It still did a really good job of picking up a signal, and there wasn't any interference to speak of. Even in our office here, which is in a basement, and sometimes radios can struggle with the signal, it's not the case at all. In fact, it's still got the clip on, because I didn't even need to fully unravel it to get a signal. So yeah, I wouldn't say that matters at all, really. Not sure if you can really call it a feature to speak of, since all digital radios do this, but the Revival Rest automatically pulls the time from the radio signal, so you don't have to faff about with setting the correct time when you first turn it on. And if you turn it off at the mains and turn it back on, it'll automatically update with the right time as well. I was actually testing the Revival Rest at home when the clocks changed, and noted that it automatically did that as well. So twice a year, your alarms will still be at the same time, even though it's technically a different time. As well as having the radio modes, the Revival Rest also has Bluetooth connectivity built in, which means you can connect up your phone and listen to your own choice of music or podcasts instead of what's on the radio. As with all Bluetooth speakers, it's really simple to use this feature, just a case of switching the mode and then pairing up your phone. At home, I generally take the Petite with me from room to room, so I did really appreciate having a permanent speaker in the bedroom, especially one that sounds this good, and that additional Bluetooth connectivity makes it a bit more versatile as well, justify the cost. And lastly, another feature that I found very useful was the USB-A charging port on the back of the Revival Rest, which means you can pop your phone charger in there and save you a plug socket by your bedside. So there we have it, the Roberts Revival Rest. They finally cracked a way of combining a clock radio with their signature design. In fact, now that I've got to give these samples back, I've enjoyed having one so much that I've actually gone and bought one for myself, so you can't get higher praise than that. If you've got any questions or comments about this product, pop them below this video, and to get your hands on one for yourself, head to ligo.co.uk.